Namaskar, this is Professor Aman Agarwal, and I'm very happy to welcome everybody on the webinar which we are hosting for the last 20 days on the essence of life and growth. We are very happy to welcome a very close person, friend, a family member of mine from Uzbekistan today, a young and dynamic man, Professor Dr. Adkham Bekmuradov. Professor Bekmuradov has been a vice minister with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs long back. After that, he had the tenure as being a vice rector of the Tashkent State University of Economics. Tashkent State University of Economics is an institution which has honored me with an honorary professors and doctorate long back in 2002-2003. I met Professor Adkham at that stage, and then he has gone up in the journey. He has been there relating to international affairs, then to academic affairs, and then from there on, he became the vice rector of the university, also of the University of World Economy and Diplomacy, which I had the honor to visit when I was invited to address at the Uli Majlis, the Parliament of Uzbekistan. And he has also been the rector for the Banking and Finance Academy. It's an honor having visited the Banking Finance Academy. He had asked me to address various faculty members, students at various forums many times during my visits to Uzbekistan as a special invitee by the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Honorable President multiple times in Uzbekistan in the last 20 years. We were very fortunate and happy when we requested him to join our editorial board of the journal Finance India. Finance India is a quarterly publication. It's a 400-page journal. We bring out every quarter. It's a refereed publication. It is Scopus Index. It's been UGC 19 Care Index. It has been ABDC Index, JEL, Cable, almost about 37 agencies. Even the UGC of Uzbekistan, the Academy of Sciences, and various other UGCs of the US, of Hungary, of Romania, of Poland, have indexed our journal for the upgradation of faculty and their works, which they published in their own in the publication in Finance India. We are very proud to have him as an editorial board member on the editorial board of Finance India. And now, recently, he has been given charge to be the head director of the apex body in Uzbekistan under the leadership of the Honorable Prime Minister and the Cabinet of Ministers of Uzbekistan to change the shape and develop the human resource for Uzbekistan. The people who work in the government of Uzbekistan pass out, although wherever he has had people have worked, they have, the University of Economics, the Tashkent State University of Economics has produced the largest numbers of ministers, cabinet ministers in Uzbekistan. Even the former president was a student of that university. So he has had the opportunity to churn human resource, or many of the students have held various important positions. But now he has the occasion to lead the way for the country to develop. And we have large number of MOUs with universities in Uzbekistan, some of the all universities, and we are looking forward to working with him as well. I requested him to be here today to speak about the essence of life and growth from his personal life experiences of having seen the world around and his own life, seen ups and downs in life and economies and states, different country structures. Adkham had kindly agreed, and then there was an unprecedented incident which took place of a dam getting broken, and as a result, over 70,000 people had to be moved from the neighboring areas, which was given as a task to Adkham by the Honorable President of Uzbekistan. He had difficulties, but then we requested him, and it was kind that he agreed to still address, given the level of complicated responsibilities he has, but he agreed to address because he had committed to us and for my love and affection for him. And we have him here. Before I pass on the mic, I would like to make the disclaimer. We at the Indian Institute of Finance have been organizing these webinars and training programs, and we are observing all norms as prescribed by the Ministry of Home Affairs to conduct online meetings and webinars and teachings at Zoom or any other software. We are also observing norms so that the Zoom bombing, which has happened in various cases around the globe, does not take place at our meetings. We would be going live from these sessions also another couple of days from now, which will be on YouTube and Facebook simultaneously as we speak. But as of now, we are keeping all our recordings on Facebook and YouTube for people to address and witness them later. My dear friends, you will have to observe the norms by keeping your mics and audios off throughout the meeting. You may kindly raise your hand so that we can ask you for question and answer session. We will open up your videos and audios at that time, but till that time, please keep your videos off. In a minute or so, I will be passing on my mic to Adkham, and then we will begin the interview which we have planned for today. Welcome, Adkham, and it's such an honor and a pleasure to see you, spend time with you, and know you. I'm very happy to see that everyone in your family, in your close relatives is fine, safe, and the Uzbekistan government has kept things under control despite the kind of threats Corona is bringing to humanity around the world. I think it is the discipline, it is the way the life has been turned, the culture and the family systems which are there in Uzbekistan, which have helped them to be able to keep this problem under control, this threat under control. I would like to begin with you with the things which we have talked about. As I said, I would like your insight from your life perspective. We are not looking at current times, we are not looking at COVID or Corona or slowdown, but what we are looking at is your understanding of what is life and what is growth in your perspective.
So, for example, I would like to thank you, Aman, for inviting me to this very interesting event. I would like to thank all participants of this webinar for joining our webinar today. So, as you mentioned, I know you almost 20 years. I know your family, and here in Uzbekistan, we know India very well, especially Indian movies, Indian history, Indian arts. They are very popular in Uzbekistan. So in the beginning, I would like to share some information about our foundation. I hope it will be very important for participants.
Yes.
Foundation, so-called EL-YURT UMIDI. EL-YURT UMIDI means Hope of Nation. This foundation was established in 2018, 2 years ago. And we have 3 directions of activity. First one is we usually offer scholarship for young specialists from all ministers and agencies to study abroad. We offer scholarships for master's, doctorate, internship, and professional development programs. And second direction is we try to establish long-term cooperation with our compatriots who live in foreign countries, and we try to invite them to Uzbekistan to have some joint projects here. Sometimes we invite them to permanent job in Uzbekistan. Especially we work with highly skilled personnel who has excellent education and experience in leading countries. And third direction is our foundation assist some joint programs from Uzbek universities and foreign universities. And our foundations gets funds from state budget. It's very important. This is small information about our foundation.
Please, yes.
Yeah, life experience and my understanding of life, it is very crucial. It's some kind of psychological meaning. I think life is the most important thing which we have, and we should use our life very efficiently. I think, for example, if I look my growth, my life from my childhood, I got education and others from Soviet period, because right now I am 55 and I had my education in Soviet period, and I would like to say that I mentioned lots of in education. So education is very important value in my life. So for now, I spend lots of my lifetime for education. Life means for me, so main value for my life is doing something useful for others. Doing something useful for making others more happier, more comfortable their life in the world. So that is why usually, as far as we are Muslims, we say that the main thing of our life is having something useful for others. It is very important for us. So my understanding of life is, first one, having education and trying to be healthy, because to be educated and to be healthy, it's very important to other things of your life. Oh. According to theory of Nobel Prize winner from India.
Amrita Sen?
Just I'm refreshing my mind. His concept of human development concept. You know him.
Professor Amrita Sen. He worked in welfare economics.
Yeah. Welfare economics. So according to his theory, the main criteria for the people is being healthy, being educated, and have some fun to realize your ideas. It is not only for human, it is for even for country, for the country. So that is why I think that the main idea for my life is to be educated and to open some conditions for my children to be educated, and through education to assist my neighboring persons, even my company and my country, to have more prosperity. It is my understanding of life.
No, I fully appreciate it. It's critical that we look after health and education, which is important, which many of us tend to ignore while we are growing up, trying to make money, trying to make a living. And then we tend to ignore some of these very basic aspects, which is health. And that's important. You know, Adkham, people live life. People spend their life. Most of us just live it. We go to work, we do something, and then we just live it. How do we go about celebrating life?
Celebrating life?
Yes.
Very, very interesting. So, you know, my understanding on celebrating of life, it depends. For example, right now, here in Uzbekistan, for example, in Muslim world, we are celebrating every day, having or making some good things for others, because now I'm holding Muslim post of Ramadan, and Ramadan means we have tried to do some useful for others every day. So it is for me that doing something useful for others, it's celebrating your life every day.
True.
Yes, I do know that it's not possible having such kind of celebration every day.
Yes.
But I think that having doing something useful for others, it is a celebration of your life.
No, you beautifully put it. I must say, it's a completely different dimension of, and I think it's very important because we tend to ignore the person who has given us life, who has built us who we are. And it's important whether it is the Mother Earth, our Mother Nation, or our Mother who has given us this flesh and blood. We need to respect and actually celebrate that particular person and with him. You know, Adkham, you have seen economies turn up, turn down. There is not a country in this world, whether developing or emerging, who has not seen turbulent times, who has not seen problems. You have become independent after the USSR Perestroika. Uzbekistan, you were a young man at that time, bustling with energies. You're bustling even today, but different kind of energies at that time and different kind of energies now. What do you think, and how do you think the next 6 months to a year will shape up, in your opinion?
Very interesting and very difficult question. So, last 15 years, we faced two big crises. For example, global financial crisis, 2008. If you remember, we had a crisis which covered mostly financial sector, mm-hmm. and we need at least 3 to 5 years to recover. Mm-hmm. But still we had some troubles since 2008 global financial problem.
Correct.
As long as this global economic crisis concern, it is much bigger than we had in 2008. And my understanding is even we will need some more time to recover it. As long as our foundation belongs to state budget, so gets money from state budget, we already cut some our funds, or we reshift from first and second quarter to third and fourth quarter. It means that coming 6 months and 12 months is very important for us.
True.
So
true.
It's very important.
You have been involved, in your life, at least for the last 20 years, I know, and even before, in developing the right kind of human resource, the human capital, which is required for the country and even for people who work overseas. Many of your students have been working overseas as well, contributing to Uzbekistan's economy and even wherever they are in different parts of the world. How do you find or feel that investing in yourself is important to induce growth and happy living?
It is very important, Aman. For example, my understanding is even right now in our foundation, we try to promote these ideas. Is the main thing for coming 6 months or 12 months will be having more more digital digitalized technology. It will be very important for us. So within two months, which we had while this quarantine period, we go very further with digitalizing the economy. So I think having more knowledge on digital economy, more knowledge how to use new, very efficient and innovative technology which concerns with digital, it will be very important for us.
Correct.
And second, which is very important for now, coming 6 months, we should care with people who don't have enough money for lifestyle, for poor men, for people who don't have enough money. And I think that especially in Uzbekistan, we focusing on some collecting more money to assisting them coming 6 months or 12 months, because it will be very hard for them to recover their problem they faced within 2 months right now, and this problem will be continue next 6 months, even longer. That is why this is new direction, another direction of what, for example, for me, what should I think?
True. No, I agree with you. Adkham, we have been discussing for almost last 20 days with different people, and one thing which came out as a common factor was positivity. It's important that positivity is there. So do you think that positivity also helps us in unlocking good luck?
Positivity, yes. I remember you asked yesterday, Mrs. Asa. I think positivity is very important, especially nowadays. If we are not positive, it will be very hard for us to have some normal life for coming 6 months, even longer period, even for our lifetime. So my understanding is, so it is not my understanding, it is a very important principle for me, which I follow my lifelong period, to be more positive. But you know, you should know even negative some things or negative influences of what you are doing. But every time you should be positive. If you will see positive result, if you forecast positive result, you will be more efficient, you will be more active, and you will be more hurried. That is my understanding. So positivity, very important for your lifestyle, and very important for realizing your plans in your and projects in your life.
True. Adkham, what's your opinion on the success mantra which one should follow? I have seen the traditional lifestyle in Uzbekistan. I visited your home, I visited some other friends' homes. I saw the kind of closeness we have in terms of culture between Uzbekistan and India, although we have historical connect as well when it comes to Bukhara, Samarkand, and various other places, not politically, but even socially. And the way, when I remember going to Bukhara, they told us the traders used to go camp in Bukhara and then go forward towards Europe. So Uzbekistan has been a key critical zone for India to actually go through. And, as the old Silk Road would say. And that connect has always been there. What is your opinion would be the success mantra for people, for youth, for every one of us for tomorrow?
Once again, I don't get you.
Isn't that historically we have between each other, between Uzbekistan and India? And the fact that we are culturally, socially very interlocked. I have seen the culture which is very similar to what we have in India in terms of orientation, living together, beliefs, understanding, respecting the guests, and so on and so forth. Given those close structures, what in your opinion and your long history of building up human capital, what in your opinion is the success mantra for tomorrow?
You mean for Indians?
No, for everybody, for humanity, for people in general.
So it's very important question, but it needs some time because you should need some refresh your mind. I think I don't ready to answer this question.
No problem. Let's go forward. What would you say that governments can do? I know government of Uzbekistan is doing a lot of efforts. It has been flux with different kinds of problems from time to time, whether it is finances, whether it is restructuring things. I remember after the USS Historica, rebuilding the whole system. There were no prop systems, heating systems, food systems, interconnecting states, building up people. I remember when Ole Majlis, when I was invited to address, making from single parliament to bicameral parliament, which I was invited to address on. So there have been, every year there are new challenges which come forth in Uzbekistan. Similar is the case with large number of governments around the world. Now, what do you think governments can do to induce sustained growth and happy living? Because ultimately, it is about that happiness which people gain, whether they do work, whether they work as a laborer, or they work as a teacher, or they work as a vice minister. Ultimately, if you don't get that happiness at the end of the day, it's of not of much materialistic use. So how do you think, what should governments do, in your opinion? Because you have been involved with policy making in the government, involved extensively for the last 20 years, I have seen you get involved. What could governments do, in your opinion?
So it's very interesting, but my understanding is government is not guarantee the happiness for the people.
Correct.
But government should create better conditions for the people to be happy.
Correct.
It means if government will offer more freedom for entrepreneurs, more freedom for medical specialists or specialists in education to work on themselves, to create some conditions to input the modern technology. So it is, my understanding is government should create better conditions for people for realizing their internal resource, because all people, all company has a lot of potential to be more effective. But our very near history shows that when government will influence very deeply in your life, your company, it makes difficulty for you and difficulty for your company.
True.
If government will offer conditions for yourself, for your company, you will benefit from this. My understanding is government as an effective instrument should create better conditions for people and for company to work on themselves, to create their life and company's life much better. It's my understanding.
True. No, I agree. I fully appreciate it.
But one comment. But you know, there is some part of population which needs some deeper influence of government. It is poor people with lack of resources, lack of potential, which need some internal assistance. That is why I think that government should deeply assist such kind of part of population and such kind of very some emerging companies, some new companies.
True. Like we saw the natural disaster which you mentioned to me the other day happening in Uzbekistan. You know, your own life, your own schedule has got disturbed. You have had to rearrange things. Similarly, people, those 70,000 people who have got impacted, they would have to rearrange everything. So do you think life is inherently unpredictable and unsecure?
So, you know, within 2 months, we had three big problems, three big trouble. First one is coronavirus, which is similar for others.
Correct.
The second, some 7 days ago, we had very big, some kind of tornado for Uzbekistan. It was in western side of Uzbekistan. We had very huge, some regional tornado which damaged lots of houses. Almost 25,000 of people lost their houses. And 3 days ago, we had some dam damage, which also bring new trouble for the country. But you know, these three very big problem for the country united the country, united the people. Because when we saw that people in the regions, they face some tornadoes, they face some damage problem, they lost their homes, they lost everything they have. They didn't have right now even food to eat. But you know, within 2 days, here in Tashkent, our government, our very active business people, very active, some socially active people, we had action, some kind of actions, gathering some food, gathering some stuff, gathering some toys for the young children. Within 2 days, we gathered lots of things, which is right now excites their demand, and they said, "Oh, thank you, it is too much. Please stop such kind of actions." So this is very important for the nation, because such kind of disasters, they united the nation, united the people. It's very important. But secondly, yes, but I agree with you, because those people who lost their home, who lost their maybe even some income, money, they will have some trouble. They will have some trouble, for example, for coming 6 months or 12 months. But you know, I do hope that our nation will not be them own.
Mhm.
We will be assisting them up to recovering every loss.
True. No, I fully agree, and I can understand. I have seen Uzbekistan so many times. I've been there almost over 14, 15 times, and I have intermingled with the culture and the systems and the way you take care. And I fully agree with what you're saying. Only two more questions before I open the house to questions from the participants from me. You know, you beautifully outlined, and partly you in fact answered this question as well, but still I thought I should ask, do you still think that life is about money and power?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think so because, as I mentioned, I have education and life growth style from Soviet period.
Mm-hmm.
And even right now, I follow those values. So power and money is not the main thing for me. But I do know there is some misunderstanding between my generation and new generation.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, some of new generation, not only some, maybe most of them, they want to have better living conditions. It means more money, high position, more power. Maybe it is okay for them because of globalization, because of new style of new lifestyle, maybe. But for me, I think it is not the main value. As I said, having good education, caring your on your health, and trying to have more good things for others. It is very important. Value number one. It is for me.
So I agree. And you know, I have one more question before I'll ask the last question to you. In fact, and then I'll open up the house. I see a few hands up. I will be calling them, but then before I ask them, as I said, one more question which I have before you. You know, in India, we believe that spirituality, it's not about religion, it's about spirituality. The way as individuals, as souls think, and we want to believe in a religion or otherwise as the concept, but spirituality helps walk the talk and recalibrates right response to difficult situations. How do you see this when we look at it from soul consciousness or spiritual wisdom or making our lives and growth happy and progressive?
Mm-hmm. It's also very interesting. You know, in Uzbekistan, spirituality has very important meaning.
Yes.
Usually, even in higher educational institutions, we care. We highly care on with this issue, because this value in Uzbek mentality, and we say that yes, you can reach a lot of things in your life. You can have more money. You will have very high position. You will have some, as you say, power. But one thing is earning money. Another thing is spending money. So if you will good educated, if you will have very higher level of spirituality, you will know how to use this money, use this power, use this position. That is why it is very important, because we have a lot of new technology creating every year, everywhere in the leading countries. If you will use this technology in bad way, it will bring a lots of problems to human being. So that is why it is very important for the people, for the country, to focus on this value. It's very important.
Yes. Thank you. And last question from me before I open the house. I see 5-6 hands up already. What's your advice? You have been dealing with youth at all levels, whether it is middle education or the undergraduate level or school education. I remember seeing the school in Tashkent State University of Economics also, that you had your school, your kindergarten school, and the other school, and then your university, which was offering the bachelor programs and master's programs and PhD program. Beautiful structure which was there. And I could feel life in Uzbekistan in almost all universities where I've been to almost, I would say, about 25 odd universities and institutions in Uzbekistan in the last 20 years. It's always been rejuvenating and very lively, you know, to go to these institutions, schools, colleges, health centers, and everywhere where I have been to some of them. What's your advice to the youth and the students? Because they are our tomorrow. They are going to be making the nation tomorrow. And as you said, they have this problem of plenty, the digital problem, the life with money and power problem. Now, given that, as an elderly, as a person who has seen life, who has seen all sides of the coin, what will be your advice to them?
Mm-hmm.
And including teens like me.
Okay. It is very important for myself too.
Yes.
Yeah. So you know, when I was 8th classmate in school, at that time I was 14 or something like that, 14 or 15. At that time I had very important plan for my long life. At that time, usually we get used in Soviet type of schools to have some essay. What is my plan for my life? At that time, when I wrote this essay, I said my life, how to say, plan or life idea is becoming a scientist.
Uh-huh.
I said I will try to be a doctor of science and physics, but unfortunately I became doctor of science of economics rather than physics. But still, physics and economics depend on mathematics. It's very important for me. So that is why my first recommendation for you is identifying your plan for your life, at least for 10, 15 to 20 years. Because if you will not identify what is your plan, what is your direction where you will go to, you will not succeed. You will not have some success on your lifestyle. So first one is identifying your direction to go. So secondly, it is more important for youth here in Uzbekistan. So, you know, new generation wants to have all things we right now have very sharply, not spending some time, not spending some resource, not spending some, how to say, some sources. It is not good, because what we have right now, we came through 30, 50 years. We had lots of troubles, lots of plans, and lots of realizations of plans. So that is why my recommendation, first of all, for Uzbek young people, dealing with science and technical subjects. Most of them, they prefer economics, law, some social subjects. But innovation comes from technical science. It is very important for young people, for the country to succeed. You should know some technical oriented subjects. You should know how to use new technology. You should know how to create something new, which needs some technical background. And secondly, it is very important for us because you're in your country, in India, you are very well in English. Here, this is the problem. My recommendation for you is we should spend at least 2 or 3 hours per day for learning English. First of all, English, because without globalization, without global mining, without global cooperation, it is too hard to succeed in nowadays.
True, true, true. No, I fully agree with you, and I have, in fact, you made me remind me of my life. But before I say what I want to say, I would be opening up the house for questions in another 2 or 3 minutes, and I would request, I will be opening up with Mohammed Halim Khan Saab for his question first, then to Junzo Watada, Professor Junzo Watada, then Dr. Yamini, and then Dr. Krishnu Gogia and Arti Grover. So I will be going with this sequence. So kindly keep your videos ready for being switched on so that we can have, and I will be opening up the videos as well as the audios in a minute. But you reminded me just now, of my life. I also wanted to be initially a pilot, an army officer, an air force officer to serve my country. And that is what my early dreams when I was in my 5th and the 6th and the 7th, when about 10 or 12 years of age. But then as I grew up, and then I was when I was 18, 20 years of age, my aspiration was to be a scientist. I read about Galileo, chemist, scientist, Madame Curie, and so on and so forth. I was intrigued and wanted to be a scientist. And then, when I was going from my school to college, and that's when I got through a large number of entrance exams for engineering courses and all, but not in Delhi. I wanted to stay back in Delhi. And that's when my father, who has been a professor, and you know him very well. My mother has been a professor, both of them very well. And they were in social sciences, in economics and finance as professors. Then, we do research, and as well, we are also scientists. We may not be making chemicals or tools, but we also do research, and we are scientists as well. And fortunately, since my father had known a couple of Nobel laureates, and he was good friends with them, some of them visited India, I met them. Some of them I met when I visited the US and others. I interacted with them as a young child, who was just passing out of the age of 18, 19. I met my father's friends who were prominent professors and Nobel laureates, and they also were from social sciences. Some of them moved from physical sciences to social sciences, like Robert Merton, who is a Nobel Prize in economics, was a PhD in physics, and he moved from physics to economics and a full professor of economics at Harvard. So, that made me think that I want to do research. I want to contribute knowledge. I want to, give away as much as I can, taking my parents and my grandparents' lining of teaching and, servicing the society in this way. And that's where I started moving towards commerce and arts and social sciences and economics, not thinking that it is not where I do research. I do. And fortunately, I'm happy down the years, 20, 25 years, I worked with the World Bank in Washington, D.C. I was there in 2000, 2002. But then I left that job and came back to India. I wanted to serve India. I wanted to do teaching and research. And although in terms of money, I would say I have gained nothing. Today, what I get as a salary is what I was getting 20 years back at the World Bank. But in terms of connects like you, friends like you, family like you, and some of the others who have come on the platform, I am enriched and I feel blessed that, if I do things, my students are doing very well. So I feel blessed. So it is something which is a blessing in disguise. And that makes me happy because you rightly said health and education does help you do that. And I think that's where the secret lies, and especially taking care. I feel blessed being with my parents, taking care of them, spending time with them, fighting with them many a times. But that connect, as you said, you with your mother, take care of your mother, helps you bring that life and that happiness. And I thought I should share with you and the colleagues here this exercise because you raised such an important issue which actually touched my heart, and I wanted to speak it out and speak it out before you as well. As they say, let all noble thoughts come to us from every side. This is written in one of our scriptures called the Rig Vedas on the paragraph 1-89-1, and that is where we started this sequence of webinars where we want to disseminate knowledge. Let people from all across the globe come and we have people from Africa, from Sweden, from UK, from the US, from Japan, from Malaysia, from every part of the world coming and attending us. We feel happy that we are able to have people like you come and share their views and experience of life and essence of life and growth.
Oh,
I've opened the
Aman,
yes.
Aman, I'm still very happy that I'm scientist. That I have a condition to do some research on how to assist my country in economic growth. It is very important. I
Yes.
just mentioned that some identifying the plan for your life is very important. It's as earlier you will identify, it is much better for you.
True. I fully agree, and I'm all through with you. I have Muhammad Halim Khan Saab. He has been Secretary Government of India. That is like you have, below the ministers, the secretary positions, government official, like in the US as well. So we have the topmost position, which any bureaucrat, a civil servant can go to, is a secretary position. And he's been one of the most honest and most upright officers in the country. And he is here with us also. We had the pleasure of listening to him among the first few which we organized. And Mr. Halim Khan, Dr. Halim Khan is here. I would request Dr. Muhammad Halim Khan Saab to kindly ask a question, and then, or if he has a comment to make as well. Dr. Halim Khan Saab, please.
Good afternoon, Professor. Accept my apologies because my video on my end is not working. So I hope audio should be fine.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Now I was just going through some papers about Uzbekistan, and I came to know that you have around 36% plus population below 14 years. So you are a very, very young country, and very young country. And I am very happy when you talked about that one should be able to foresee or plan for 10 years or 15 years what one wants to achieve. Only then it will be possible for you to realize your best. So in that context, I will be happy to see through your eyes where Uzbekistan will be after, say, 20 years or so.
Sorry.
He wants to know that you are a young nation and you have grown, you have developed, you have gone through challenges. How do you see where would Uzbekistan be in about 20 years from now?
It's very bad connection with the sound. Can you repeat?
Yeah.
Muhammad Halim Khan Saab, if you can repeat that again.
I was only submitting that you are a very young country with a lot of people below 14 years and lot of people, almost 67% people between the age group of 14 to 65. So with so much of young assets, where you are planning, where you are foreseeing your country will be in the next 20 years in terms of achievements?
Yeah, I got you. So sorry, we had some trouble with sound. Right now it's okay. Yes, according to our national statistics, 60% of population under 40, almost under 30 even. 60% of under 40. 40.
Yes.
Yes, we are very young. We are very young country. But you know, when you are very young, you will face some different troubles. The trouble number one is unemployment. Yes, there is some favorable situation with pension fund, but there is a problem with unemployment. So that is why most of young generation, not most of, some 10% of young generation, they are like moved to Russia, to Korea, to other countries as migrants. They work in other countries. But you are right that almost right now we are thinking about how to run this country after 20 years, when the proportion of old style population will have higher than right now we have. So the main thing is productivity. The productivity of the economy will bring more money, more fund to maintain this part of population. I mean, all the population. Right now, we know that Japan has lots of troubles with all the generation. Italy, France, most of European countries, they face lots of trouble with all the generation. So this is very good example, very good experience for the country. We should study your experience. I mean, Europeans and Japanese experience, how to run the economy, how to run the country when you will face some problem with pension system. So well, I think most of things depends on the efficiency of the economy. That is why right now we are thinking about using digital technology in the country, because if you will use digital technology, you will have more productivity. You will spend less resources, less human resources, natural resources, but you will earn more money. This is one of the ways to handle the problem. And secondly, I cannot right now answer to this question because it is, for example, under my responsibility. But my understanding as an economist, we should study best experience, Japanese experience, European experience, to learn and to use their leading experience in terms of Uzbekistan conditions. It's my understanding.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we will now move to, since you mentioned Japan, we have a very clear dear friend, Professor Junzo Watada, and I will be moving on to him just a second. I see him here.
Good afternoon.
What is doing this session?
Professor Dr. Bekmuradov. I think I'm a Japanese coming from Japan to right now in Malaysia. Be staying for 4 years. I think Uzbekistan and Malaysia are quite similar. Population is 32 million and 34 million. Both are quite similar size. And also 1 square kilometer. I think Uzbekistan has 34 persons in, no, 74 persons per square kilometer. Malaysia has the 86 people per square meter. Malaysia has a jungle. Almost all area jungle. The people are living in west side. The east side, not so much the large population. But I studied in the United States and Europe. Quite rare to find Uzbekistan people there. How do you think many people are going to outside of Uzbekistan? Uzbekistan is quite famous on the road of Silk Road. So the historically quite famous places. But Uzbekistan people are not recognized for me. So the one question, how many people are going to outside of Uzbekistan? Almost all people are staying in Uzbekistan and developing the country. So this is one question. Next, you emphasize positiveness. Japanese are quite pessimistic. They worry tomorrow or day. So they mean that we save the money. without saving the money, I cannot live tomorrow. So it is quite pessimistic, not positive. Of course, I do positively, but we cannot spend much money. As you told, Uzbekistan spend the money, even though they earn money, they should spend. Japanese don't like to spend money much, usually saving. Japanese saving rate is quite high comparing with other countries. It depends on the pessimistic nature. So my question is, positiveness, whether the Uzbekistan people positiveness is coming from religion or culture or the circumstance or education. What is the most influence to make Uzbekistan positiveness? Would you explain something for me?
Okay. どうもありがとうございました。So it's very important questions. That is why I would like to thank you for your questions. So according to open as the country, yes, Uzbekistan and Malaysia almost the same in terms of population. But you know Malaysia better than you do Uzbekistan. But for example, it depends, you are very close to Malaysia and you share the same history with Malaysia because it is your region. You do not know Uzbekistan as much as you know Malaysia because we were within Soviet period, within 70 years, some kind of closed country. It was very difficult to visit Uzbekistan before 1991 when we get our independence. But right now, if you may know, you may know that Japanese people here in Uzbekistan, in terms of quantity, it is tourist #1 for Uzbekistan. Lots of Japanese people visit Uzbekistan every day. And I still remember Obata-san, he was a Japanese prime minister. You may know it is earlier 90s. He announced Silk Road Doctrine. This is Japanese Silk Road Doctrine announced by Obata-san. Obuchi-san, sorry, Obuchi-san.
Obuchi. Yeah, Obuchi. Obata-san is something idiot. Obuchi is a famous person.
Very famous.
Originally, he was educator. Then he moved to politician.
I know. Watada-san, I knew him very well because when I visited in end of 90s in Japan, I met with him. I know his diplomacy, Silk Road diplomacy. And since that time, Japan has very deep influence in Uzbekistan. Unfortunately, you didn't visit our country, but most of Japanese people, even NHK, every 3 or 5 years, they have some movie, some film. They create film here in Uzbekistan and show through NHK because most of Japanese, they visit Uzbekistan.
I see.
And as a rector, I had very close relations with Japanese universities. And my senseis in Japan, lots of senseis I know right now. I had very close relations with Waseda University. I had very relations with Minister of Finance of Japan. It is very important. Because of Malaysia is very close to you, Uzbekistan very far from you. And Uzbekistan was locked by Soviet period. You couldn't have some good connection with Uzbekistan. But you know, after getting independence, we had some disposition of tourists here in Uzbekistan. Most of Uzbek people right nowadays visit, oh, not nowadays, because right now we all locked last years. And right now, tourism sector, it is some driver of Uzbekistan economy, because we had a lots of historical cities which 3,000 years old. Samarkand, Bukhara, as Aman mentioned, very famous and very popular among Japanese people. And I do hope that you will visit us once again in the future.
Yeah, we know Samarkand on the Silk Road.
Even Wadada-san, even Buddhism came to Japan through Central Asia, through Uzbekistan. And Kato-san is very famous Buddhism scientist in Japan. He had a lots of excavation here in Uzbekistan which related to Buddha period. So most of Buddha research projects we had here with Japanese people. Thanks to Japanese, we had a lot of excavations.
Quite nice.
As long as positivity concerned, I think mostly it comes from education.
I see.
If people educated, these people is more open, more positive, because he know the power of positivity. And secondly, Uzbek people mentally were positive, because while Soviet period, positivity was one of the very important value, because no one people care for food, no one people care for education, for security. If you don't care with such kind of very important values, you will be very positive. But you know, right now we have some shifting from positivity to unpositivity, because you know it's my
security. You mean security?
I think security. It is my understanding. If you will face some trouble with security, with some enough food, with conditions for better life, you will have some trouble, and your positivity will lose some, and you will some cautious on such kind of values. But government, it is government's deal, making people very positive. If government will think about it, if government will create conditions for the people to be positive, I think we will follow our traditions. But
okay,
nowadays,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, let me just brief about Junzo. Junzo has spent large part of his life at Waseda University. It's almost like a best for him.
Yeah. I'm now the retired Waseda and 70 years. Right now, 74 years old. A little bit older than you.
Watada-san, I knew very close Okushima-san, Waseda's president.
Yeah, the former president of Waseda, Okushima.
Okushima. And Seki-san, you may know Seki-san, vice rector for finance. Right now he moved to another university. We have very close relations with him.
I see.
We still have some cooperation with them.
Next, I will be with you.
Thank you. Please come, please visit us.
Yeah.
The young youth with them. And I have taught many of them, and I have seen the level of energies, and what Adkham is talking about is fairly true. I'll open up the mic for Professor Dr. Yamini now, if we can ask a question, and then I'll move to the other. Dr. Yamini.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
My question to you is, what do you think should India imbibe in itself from the Uzbekistan culture to give more meaning to its life and prosperity?
It is good to see, Mrs. Very important. So you mean what Indians can share from Uzbeks? Am I right?
What can we
Yes,
and
from Uzbekistan. Yes.
So you know, unfortunately, I had never been in India. I know India only through Indian movies. And my understanding is we are very close. We are very close. So it is very difficult for me. What kind of Uzbek value can be shared for Indians for making Indians more productive? I think most of comes from Uzbek mentality, family values. Family values. For example, I have 3 children and 6 grandchildren, and not every day, but every week, at least I will visit my daughters. 1 week, one daughter, and next week, next daughter. My son live with me, and grandchilds from my son, they live with me. So, you know, family values, it's very important for Uzbeks. We try to have our children, our childs very close to us. Not physically, it's mentally. We call once a week, we gather once a month, we share some events, we organize. I think it's very important for Uzbeks. I do know that Indian people also has such kind of traditions, but we saved, my understanding is we saved this value better than you did. It is my understanding. If I am wrong, I will be very happy.
Thank you. I will now go to Professor Aarti Grover. She is a professor at the School of Planning and Architecture, looking after landscape. And in fact, lately she has been working on the President of India's gardens, which is one of the richest gardens in the city of Delhi, with a lot of green, a lot of land, almost about 300 acres of land is there with the presidential estate in the city, heart of the city of Delhi. And she is the task to do the landscaping there as being a professor of the School of Planning and Architecture, which is the leading school in architectural studies in India. Professor Aarti.
Thank you so much, Professor Aman, for that introduction. Professor Adkham, I was really late to hear to you, and the way you portrayed life is extremely positive and nice. And I think my heart fills with respect for you when you hold such a big position and yet filled with humility for answering every small question. Your focus on education is really very impressive. So my and you've also talked about the impetus which the government should be giving to needy, poor, and marginalized, especially during the contemporary situation where we are all locked into. Right, my question is specific to women. My question is specific to women in Uzbekistan, and I would like you to speak a little about how do you see, basic research says that 50% women in the rural Uzbekistan and 64% women in urban Uzbekistan think that men have more rights on them. And that's true. I mean, globally, we all think so. Even in India, sometimes we feel that. But my question is, how do you see growth of women in the coming years in Uzbekistan? And are there any gender-sensitive policies in terms of education and work for women in your place? Thank you.
Well, I didn't got your question. I'm very sorry. Only question.
Okay, my question is, how do you see the growth of Uzbekistan women in the coming years? And are there any gender-sensitive policies for work and education for women?
You are raising gender problem, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, yes, it is very important for Uzbekistan for nowadays. So, because of Uzbekistan also follows Muslim Islam traditions. Because of we follow Islam traditions, there is some misunderstanding in the society. But you know, we came from Soviet style of life. Soviet style of life, the gender problem was there was no gender problem, and it is some not only religious, but it is also national value for Uzbeks. Usually, Uzbek man tries to create more conditions for women to be happy. This is my understanding. But as I say, for example, my wife, she works. My daughters, they all work. So there is no problem with gender in my family. But, you know, I'm educated people. In rural area, we will face some another trouble, some controversial situation. I think education most important weapon in handling this problem. Here in our society, gender problem has some very close relation with education level. The higher education, the lower gender problem. So that is why my understanding is, if we will focus on education, if we will offer conditions for all, for boys and girls, equal educational conditions. So here in Uzbekistan, there is all conditions offered to girls and boys equal. There is no disbalance between conditions we offer for genders. But I think that education was important. It's number one. And second, public policy. It's very important. For example, since we got our independence, we created, so we defined some strict quota for parliament. For example, for Uzbekistan, 30% of seats in parliament should be covered by women. It is a quota.
22%?
30%, 30.
Okay.
30%. And some of high-level positions covered by women. The chairman of Senate, woman. Some ministers, also women. But it is still not enough. It is still not enough. We usually say, when woman minister or has high position, it means they are better to work, because women, how to say, I'm very sorry, my English is very poor, that's why sometimes it's difficult to me to understand you. But my understanding is more open, maybe women, and men is very strong, and sometimes it is difficult for men to work with men when you have some your boss. But you know, right now Uzbekistan, we are going through reforms. We have to do a lot of hard work. We should go business trip every day or every week to other regions to assist some others, to have meetings in regions. It is very difficult for Uzbek women because of our mentality, because of our Muslim traditions, and because of our historical and national traditions. That is why there is some controversy. And my understanding, even I will repeat once again, digitalizing the economy, digitalizing our life, also one of the very important tools tool for overcoming this problem. Yes, we have some kind of problem here, but it is not because our country, because it is not because our people, it is because our historical and national and religious behavior. But we try to overcome. Every year it is priority in our plans.
Yes,
Even when we adopt some very important degree from president or some big plan to making something better, we will say we have to use more women to handle this problem, to realize the situation. So we are trying to make women more active. We're offering some additional conditions. But you know, it should be two sides direction. Women also, they should work on themselves. They should be educated. They should work on themselves to put some ambitious plans, not to see when somebody will invite them to join some project. Am I right?
Yes,
Thank you so much. Thank you
just
for
to
your
add to what Adkham said, you know, as I said, I've been there 20 years, many times for a couple of months, couple of days as well. And I've interacted with different levels. I've been to families of people like Adkham and some of my other friends like Professor Guliamov, who was a minister before, and so on and so forth. And I have seen the level of openness, which is I've been to small towns like villages. We have life in Uzbekistan much similar to the life in India in smaller towns as well. But I have seen more progress in terms of women gender issues in Uzbekistan. There is more modernity. It is not like a typical Muslim nation as being projected by various countries, which is very open. They had stopped burqa system, although females have the liberty to wear burqa if they want to, but they stopped burqa system when they got independent, so they don't have that restriction. You can see girls with skirts, with trousers, with jeans, with their own traditional dresses. When you go to smaller towns or historic places like Bukhara or Samarkand and Kiev and other, you will see also the fact that women are actually working both in fields, in hospitals, in marketplaces like we see them here in India, in agriculture. Most places you will see women working. It's not that men don't work, but both of them working together. In universities, when you go and teach, almost I would say 50 to 60% of the class is filled with women. And there are a large number of people, as Adkham rightly said, where women participation is going up day by day in almost all walks of life in Uzbekistan. So I say it's very progressive. In fact, one of the former presidents, the first president who unfortunately had died because of ill health, his daughter had taken a fashion show and opened up a large number of fashion does for us, for women to work from Uzbekistan in the international platforms, in beauty pageants and so on and so forth. So, you know, it is a very progressive nation as a matter of it. And as Junzo rightly said, not many people know about it. They know about the silk, they know about the cotton, they know about the other products which Uzbekistan makes. Very good vegetables, fruits, very tasty fruits and vegetables, but they don't know about a lot of life of the Uzbeks. So I think the Uzbekistan government needs to work on projecting Uzbekistan more now and the Uzbeki to what they do and the good they are doing to the world. Thank you, Dr. Aarti. I'll now move to Mr. Krishna Goel, and I will request if he can kindly introduce himself before we begin. Just a second, I'll just unmute you, sir.
Aman?
Yes, please.
Aman, I would like to add some comment on Ms. Graver's question. So I would like to say that Uzbekistan is not a religious country. We are a secular country. We are a constitutional republic. But we respect our religious traditions. There is some respect. It is not because of government policy. It's only respect to religious traditions. But country is very open. If you will Uzbekistan, you will see this is the same traditions you may see in European countries. All restaurants like European restaurants, lifestyle, even everywhere in the country, you can see restaurants, some other entertainment entities you may see in European countries. So there should not be some misunderstanding on our lifestyle.
True. I will now go to Mr. Krishan Goyal if he can ask his question, and we would like to end in another 5 to 10 minutes. We have 2 more questions.
Sir.
After. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Professor. And good afternoon, Professor Amani.
Yeah,
I'm Professor Krishan A. Goyal from Jainaran Vyas University, Jodhpur, Rajasthan.
Okay.
Sir, my question is from the discussion between Professor Aman and you. You discussed that money and power is important for life and growth. But I feel this is not an absolute answer. I think this changes according to the phases of life. Money, power, position, status, and you added one more, education here. And all these are not absolute for human being. It changes according to the phase of life. Like childhood, the things, different things get satisfaction. Adulthood, it is different. And in old age, I think people diverted more towards spiritualism, not for money and power. This is my opinion. I seek your opinion about this. I think I'm clear.
Yes, Adkham. He's saying that, you know, when you mentioned, let me just clarify. He's saying what exactly you said is that as you believe that money and power is not important, but the youth, the young generation believes that money and power is important. What is your understanding? That's what he's wanting to understand, because he also says as he has grown in his life, he feels money and power is not important. But what do you think about from Uzbekistan's perspective?
Okay, I got it. So, you know, money and power, it's important, but it is not value number 1 for me. Education and health, it is number 1 for me, because if you will have good education, if you will have good health, you will create money, you will create some other things which is important for the life. Yes, you are right. There is no way to live without money and without power. It is also very important, but it is not priority number 1. You know, there is a lot of values which is very important for our lifestyle, but we should classify them by priority. Priority number 1, priority number 2. It is my understanding. But for young generation, unfortunately, they put money and power as a top priority. This is a top priority. And you know, if you will fix such kind of values, and if you will reach them, and after your lifestyle will lose its meaning, because you got your money, you got your power, you got your position, you cannot earn all money, which yes, there are people who want as better, yes?
Correct.
My understanding is that young people should care on education, health, on doing better things for others. It's more important. But this is misunderstanding between generations. Priorities will change when we get age, some new age. My priority when I was 20, it's not okay for me for now. And my priority for now, it's not okay for my son. So there is some misunderstanding between us. I do believe that there is some misunderstanding between you and between your children. Am I right?
Correct. It's always there. I will now go to Professor Ashok Laha. Professor Ashok Laha is a dynamic entrepreneur. We had him before a couple of days back. And he is from America. He's based in India as of now, half time here, half time there. And he has set up a large empire where he is servicing humanity by employing and then giving that multiplier effect in terms of people having the livelihood and to make contribution to his organization and to the country, as a matter of fact. Professor Laha is also an adjunct professor at the Indian Institute of Finance, and we feel honored to have him here. Professor Laha, please ask a question.
Okay. Thanks very much for Aman. Thanks very much. Professor Becker, thank you very much. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing, a wonderful experience to listen to you. When I was in the US in grad school in a Northwestern University, I met a gentleman, my classmate was from Tashkent. At that time, he was of course, the part of the Soviet Union. So I got a very good relationship with him. Still, we keep touch. And I was hoping, this summer, I'm supposed to, I'll go to Amsterdam quite a lot. I'm supposed to go and visit him. But maybe next time I'll go to Tashkent, I will definitely get your email from the Amon and get a chance to meet him.
Thank you. I was waiting.
Sure, I'll definitely meet you. Yeah, you're a wonderful person. Now, my question is very simple question. Few days ago, a lady from the Switzerland, Professor Asa, she made a very interesting comment about that how they are dealing with this virus, this corona, what's happening today. She said Sweden has got a tremendous trust factor. Trust factor means that they don't know lockout, people can go any place when to go. Government asks them to stay home, and people are staying home. People are following the whatever government directives. But people can go any place where they want to go, everything else. I live in the US, and I have seen in the US also, they got called shelter at home, but people can go any place. Their malls are locked, malls are closed, movies are closed, but you can go. There is no passes, nothing else there. On the other hand, in India, we got a lockdown. If you go out, police may stop you. I go to the office once in a while, and I have to get a pass from the local administration so that I can go to the office. Now, so I'm curious to how the trust factor in your country and how you are dealing with this unprecedented event today.
Thank you. Very important question. So the country announced its lockdown since March 16, almost 2 months ago. And we are not completely locked down. So usually big cities lock down, and countryside, because of agricultural period, most of countryside, they are following their everyday usual lifestyle. They are not locked down. But right now, Uzbekistan is going through opening period. Right now, almost 70% of shops and companies they opened from this day. Almost 70%. Only schools, universities, cinemas, and some places where some parks closed because we avoid some gathering, lots of people. We're avoiding of crowd. So what does it mean, lockdown for me? For me, there is no lockdown because my position is ministerial position, and every day I go to work. I work traditionally, usual day. There is no lockdown for me, but there is lockdown for my family. Lockdown means once or twice or 3 times a day, you can go to food store. You can go to drugstore. You can go out within some 100 meters around your house. It is not completely locked down, even big cities. But among of our regions, Tashkent is highest locked down city, almost 95% city is locked down. But right now we're opening step by step. So being locked down, it does not mean that you cannot go out from your house. You can go to a food store, drugstore, but it means you cannot go to your other friends to organize some event, to invite some of your friends to your home. Even you cannot invite your daughters from others' house to your house. It is locked down for us. And public transport also locked down, no public transport. From this day, city taxi is open, not locked down. And all inter-regional transport, buses, not trains, only buses, they can operate between local cities. Even Tashkent is open for taxi and for buses from other regions, but only schools, universities, cinemas, and big places where usually we celebrate our wedding parties, they are closed. And we do hope that by the end of May, maybe they will be opened, but not universities, not schools. Because government, we have a special commission for coronavirus fighting, and there is some announcement that schools and universities will finish academic year by digital technology, by online conference system, as long as I know.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So for the last question we have, I see Kai from Finland. Kai Sunderlund has been, again, Kai I've known for over 20 years now. Kai Sunderlund has been the Chief of Mission here in India for Finland and various countries. He has also been advisor to his Prime Minister in Finland, had long working office, and we were fortunate to have him also address this forum. And he comes every year. Like one goes to the temple, he comes every year to our institute. We feel privileged and speaks to our students, spends time with us. And we are very happy that he has been doing that even after his diplomatic tenure is over. He is no longer working and living now in Spain for half of the time and half of the time in Finland. But that connect for him with the institute has been there, and we feel privileged about that. Kai, please go ahead, ask your question and or comment, whatever you have.
Thank you very much, Aman. It's great to listen to you, and especially having your guests from Uzbekistan. I'm so sorry. On my trips, I always been flying over you to India. But I hope that perhaps in the future I might have a possibility to drop by. My question perhaps to you, and as we are talking about quality of life and matters that really are important to us today, I was wondering, how do you see now, which is in sense a big problem or a small problem, is the so-called urbanization of countries. You can see the problem now with the corona crisis. If you have too many people squeezed into small areas, everything will become very difficult when it comes to diseases. And we have been warned by all these epidemics that might be coming up sooner or later, and now we have one. We have a big discussion in Spain, where I live now, but then I also live in Finland, and as you probably know, Finland is a little bit like Uzbekistan. We have a big country but a small population. And in Spain again, we have a big concentration of 47 million people into cities. The big cities are Madrid and Barcelona. And there you have had the big problems with the corona. Now,
Yeah.
how do you look upon urbanization and your discussion of urbanization in your country? Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned, we have here a special government commission on fighting with coronavirus. So just yesterday, this commission had the last meeting, and they decided that situation here in Uzbekistan much favorable in comparison with European countries' situation. And that is why from the beginning of May, we are going through opening the country, but only opening the country inside, not opening the country for outside. So right now, there is some degree from the president that we will indicate cities and regions in Uzbekistan which will open in certain level. Countryside, they are fully opened except schools and universities. So universities and schools, they're closed, locked down everywhere in the country. And big cities like Tashkent, Samarkand, Bukhara, where we have 1 million and bigger population, we consider that we will step by step open. So from this day, so medium-sized shops, medium-sized some companies which have service for population is open, but restaurants not open yet. So we have here some strategy opening the country step by step. But opening the country for outside, it depends on other countries. For example, our air company locked down until June 30, until July. We close our airways company because no one other country, they will accept our planes. So my understanding is it should be step by step. We should see how we have some progress in fighting coronavirus. So in terms of coronavirus, Uzbekistan has very favorable situation. We have only 2,200 infected. It is in comparison to 1 million, it's very lower. Maybe it's a little bit higher than India, but this proportion, we have only 10 deaths. So proportion of death to 1 million, Uzbekistan, we have proportion 0.3. It's one of the lowest figure in terms of other countries' situation. This makes some having new steps of opening. That is why we are a little bit faster in opening the country. But there is some, how to say, discussion between some groups of population, groups of institutions. How should we fast in opening? It depends on situation. Even yesterday, this commission indicate if we will have some worse situation in the future, we will come back to locking down in certain areas or certain companies.
Thank you.
Could I answer?
Fine. Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think what at least I know Aman is very interested in, and also myself, is of course my real question behind is what will be the economic cost, the damage to you, and how will you try and solve it?
Yeah, it's very important. It's very important. And if I will be a person who know it very well, I will be Minister of Finance.
Good.
But you know, For example, GDP growth for first quarter, we have 4.1%. It is high percent, yes? 4.1 GDP for first quarter. But next quarter, we will face more trouble. Usually, we plan that we will have almost 6% GDP growth for 2020. And right now, our forecast is 1.5, but still positive. But nevertheless, right now we face a lot of problem with gathering the tax. Most of companies, they don't pay tax because they don't work. Almost 70% big companies, they don't work and they don't pay tax. And that is why we use our reserves. We are using our reserves. And secondly, we are having some negotiations with international financial institutions, and we are attracting foreign debt for foreign credit, because without foreign credit, there is no way to overcome this situation, because situation is very dangerous. As I said, it is if you will compare 2020's crisis with 2008, it is some 3 times or 4 times worse. Dangerous.
Thank you, Adkham. And it's a pleasure. I requested for 1 hour. You've given me 2 hours, in fact, and thank you very much. And in any case, I will be connecting with you at other platforms, and we look forward to working together in terms of the endeavors you have under the foundation. I'm happy to share, as a responsibility which I've been told to do, is that we are hosting a webinar training program today afternoon from 2 to 3 on A to Z of technical analysis. Then tomorrow we have Dr. R.T. Grove from SPA speaking on essence of life and growth. And we have a leadership summit by OSA, which is going to be in the afternoon tomorrow from 4 to 5:30. So people who have not registered and want to can do. And then day after, we have a very prominent lady who has been on the hearts of a lot of men as well as of women primarily, is Dr. Blossom Kocher in India. A very prominent woman figure in the country. She will also be addressing the Essence of Life program. So with that, I'd like to end the program and thank you again. Namaskar and Vande Mataram. Jai Hind.
Thank you. Thank you, Aman.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.